everyone, and welcome to this live broadcast. I'm Jenna, and today we're going to be talking about sublimation. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the process, we're going to make sure we go in great detail so you understand exactly what this print media is and how that process works. I want to thank you guys for joining me on Facebook Live. We go live every other Thursday with new topics to bring you industry trends and different how-tos and tips and tricks so that you can be the most successful you can be at your heat printing business. And that's our strong focus, is all things heat printing. So today, I wanted to talk about something that we don't always talk about, and that is sublimation, which goes hand in hand with heat printing, and we're starting to see it trend more and more in the industry. I actually just got back from Long Beach, California, where we attended the Impression show, and that was a lot of the media that I was seeing being printed, and it was a big subject that different attendees were talking about, is getting into sublimation and being able to do different products. So again, we're going to be diving into sublimation, why that's becoming such a large trend in the industry, and how you can start incorporating it at your business to take advantage of some of the profit opportunity that it provides. I see I have some of you on with me today. Thank you so much for joining me. Feel free to comment and like the broadcast. If you have any questions throughout, I will be visiting the comment section. And of course, I always love seeing where you guys are joining in from. So go ahead and comment where you're watching this broadcast from. Without further ado, we can go ahead and dive into today's topic. So sublimation printing, it's a chemical process. And what it does is it takes sublimation ink from typically what is an inkjet printer, whether that be a large format or even a desktop, and it prints out onto a transfer paper so that you can get quality imaging, vibrant colors, gradients, and everything that you can typically get with digital printing that we show a lot. That's typically with latex printing or eco-solvent ink onto heat transfer vinyl. But what this process does is it takes the ink of sublimation, turns it into a gas whenever it's heat applied, and takes that gas and puts it right into the fibers of the garment that you're applying. So a lot of decorators that are working with sublimation now know that you have to work with 100% polyester, and it needs to be a light colored or white garment. So that's really the only limitation with sublimation. And what's nice about that is 100% polyester is being incorporated more and more into this industry because that fiber has such a nice feel, and it's growing in performance apparel. All right, so we are starting to see more and more with sports jerseys, them being sublimated all over, the personalization, the number, and it's able to achieve a lot of different vibrant, unique colors throughout the jersey. All right, so not only are we seeing that in soccer, but now it's starting to be incorporated more and more into softball and baseball and basketball as well. So sublimation, again, it's a unique process, but it's certainly achievable for those of you that have a heat press. And we're going to be demonstrating that a little bit later, but I really want to dive into what the process actually looks like if you are going to bring this in-house. So we do have a clip of a video that we've done in the past that shows what this process looks like. So let's take a look at that now. So there are a few different ways that you can actually do sublimation printing. And what you're seeing here is a industry, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Large format heat press, all right? So this is great for large production and if you want to do all over sublimation printing. So what we did was laid down a t-shirt nice and flat, making sure we're getting all of those wrinkles out, and then we're taking a large sublimation transfer and putting it in to this big, large format heat press. So it's going in, it's gonna do that heat printing process. That'll range anywhere from 350 degrees to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and it'll press for about 45 seconds. So this press does some other technologies that are different from your standard heat press, such as the 16x20 we sell. So he was actually able to remove that paper, and now his all over sublimation print is complete. All All right, so this is one way that a lot of apparel manufacturers are getting that full color sublimation look. All right, so now we're just gonna do our standard front placement as opposed to doing all over. So what we're doing is just taking a standard transfer paper, usually 11 1/4 by 8 inches, and just doing a number placement, and then also a full front placement. All right, so going to the other side, you can see the bright vibrancy you're able to achieve with that. And you'll also see the image quality and gradients and colors we were able to achieve in the numbers as well. All right, so this is a great way to get those bright, vibrant colors without feeling like there's something sitting on top of the shirt. So as I mentioned earlier, these inks turn into a gas and become one with the shirt because that ink is connecting with those polyester fibers and holding in there. All right, so now to another video where we show sublimation in a different way. What you can also use sublimation for is printing on glitter flake, which is what this video is showing here. So we're taking pieces of glitter flake and sublimating onto them. And why we're able to do this is because glitter flake is a polyester-based product. So the sublimation is going to transfer to that, and we're able to receive a full color, bright and vibrant glitter transfer. All right, so what we did is took a Teflon sheet, or reusable cover sheet is what we like to call it, and we're saving the adhesive and keeping it from sticking to that upper heating element. So whenever you do sublimate glitter, what you have to do is make sure you're removing it from the carrier so that the sublimation ink can transfer to the glitter texture heat transfer vinyl. All right, and again, we're at 375 for that application, and we do a full 45 seconds. So you can see the sublimation fully transferred to that glitter flake strip, and what we're producing here actually is glitter flake sublimated hair bows. All right, so that is the process of why we're actually taking the sublimation and transferring it to the glitter flake in these strips specifically. Now, you're actually able to do this process in other ways. You don't just have to do strips of heat transfer vinyl. What you're also able to do is contour cut your glitter flake and take sublimation images and transfer them to those as well, and then heat apply to garments. So many decorators in the industry are using this process to be able to use sublimation, but also apply it onto other fabrics such as cotton poly blends, tri-blends, things like that. All right, so again, the only limitation with sublimation is that you need a polyester base, and that's exactly how we're able to sublimate onto the glitter flake. Pretty cool, right? So you're able to not only be able to print in-house sublimation transfers to achieve some of the looks that we were doing in those videos, but if you aren't interested in investing in equipment that does the sublimation printing for you, what you can do with our Stahls custom services is upload your artwork, and we'll send you the artwork on the sublimation transfer ready to heat apply. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing on this 100% polyester shirt. All right, so the only thing you really need is a heat press if you want to get started with sublimation printing and showing it to your customers what all it can achieve. Now, if you want to start bringing it in-house, there are some popular sublimation printers in the industry. One of them being Sawgrass, who we are big fans of here at Stahls. They have really good quality printers, and they range in 2 different sizes that are just desktop printers, so you don't need to worry about a large space for a large format printer. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead to the heat press and show you exactly how this application works using our 100% polyester t-shirt that was sourced from S&S Activewear. All right, so I'm going to be using the Fusion IQ, right? And what I'm able to do with this is get a temperature and time and pressure readout. And this is very important because sublimation has to follow key instructions in order for it to work accurately. So you can see I'm set at 386 degrees here. My time is set for 45 seconds. And whenever I lock this press down, I'm gonna know what my pressure is at. Right now I'm at a 5, which is a medium pressure, but I wanna make sure I'm at a firm pressure, so I'm going to increase that so that it's reading at a high pressure. So right now it's at an 8, and that's exactly where I need it to be. Now, when you're considering the type of presses that you need when it comes to sublimation, we always tell you to consider the type of heating element it has on it. Because there are so many different heat presses in the industry to choose from, there's one thing you need to be aware of, and it's if the press is a hover press. And what we mean by that is that the platen, or the heating element, hovers right above the bottom platen so that it locks all together, as opposed to a clam style heat press that locks in the back before the front. Why this is important is because when we press sublimation, we need it to be completely flat and evenly heated. Another reason is because sublimation can potentially ghost. And what we mean by that is whenever we are pressing the sublimation and then we start to see some shading from where the transfer paper moved of that sublimation ink, and it started transferring to other parts of your garment. So when you're considering the type of heat press, you want to make sure that it is going to apply evenly at the same time as opposed to back to front. So we'll go ahead and do the application so you can see just how beautifully sublimation prints. So I'm going to thread my garment by opening it up and just working with that top surface. And before I take my transfer to heat apply, I'm going to make sure my substrate doesn't have anything on it that could block that ink from getting on there. And now we're going to do a preheat to release any moistures or wrinkles. Remember, wrinkles are a big factor in getting a good sublimation print. And we just don't want that to keep the press or keep the shirt from getting ruined. So now I'm just taking my sublimation paper, and if I want to be extra cautious of this moving, what I can use is thermotape. So I'm going to undo this from the tape and place it right on the top and the bottom, just to make sure this isn't moving on me as I'm pressing the heating element down. All right, so this is going to be for a full 45 seconds at a firm pressure at 385 degrees. All right, so just going to visit some of the comments that we have coming in. Kimberly asks, how long does the paper stay good for? All right, so if you're looking to stock sublimation paper, what's nice about it is that you're able to, it comes in a box and it comes in plastic packaging. So as long as you're keeping it there and stocking it, it's going to have good durability, assuming that it's in a room temperature type of atmosphere. Now, if you're asking if I can reuse this paper after I've already sublimated it, if I were to do that on the other shirt, you'll notice that the inks are more diluted as opposed to nice and vibrant. Okay, I'm not sure what's happening here. There may be something on the top of the press, but that's okay. At least you guys will be able to see how bright and vibrant this image comes out. So what looked like it was on the paper was a little bit of faded ink on there. But you notice as soon as it transfers, we are getting a really nice, true fabric texture application because the ink that was on that paper turned into a gas and completely became one with the garment, all right? That's the best way I can describe it. So there isn't anything laying on top of this fabric. It's just heat applied and it doesn't feel like anything. That's why I'm able to do a full front like this without blocking anything out because it is part of the fabric now. Now, one thing you can do with sublimation is mixed media. And if this is a great option, if you really want to take sublimation to the next level and stay very competitive with people in your area that are also offering sublimation. So one thing we talk about with sublimating and heat printing mostly is avoiding sublimation from migrating through your transfers that you're heat applying. So you'll notice us talking about fully sublimated garments and needing a transfer that has a dye blocker. And that's going to be key if you are doing mixed media. So I did my sublimation transfer. I have my CAD cut metallic in pink that we're going to apply over top. And what's nice about the metallic is it blocks any dyes from migrating. This time I'm going to make sure to use a cover sheet so whatever's on this upper heating element doesn't transfer anymore. It's another good reason why you always want to use a cover sheet. Not only is it protecting your design, but also your garment as well. So metallic applies at 10 to 15 seconds. So we are going to drop our time here significantly. But since we're at the temperature that sublimation is set at, it's okay that we apply it at that temperature. So it's not going to damage the metallic at all, even though we recommend that you apply metallic at 300 degrees. It can still go on at 385 without being damaged. It's also nice that it's not on there for a long dwell time either. All right, so you'll notice whenever I peel this cover sheet back that where that sublimation was left over actually transferred to this craft paper. And people often ask me throughout doing education, you know, why do you choose to use the craft paper as opposed to, you know, the Teflon cover sheet or what we call a reusable cover sheet? And the reason being is because it's easy throwaways, and if something sticks to it, I have a whole pack of 25 that only cost me $10 that I can just pull another one from. Now metallic is a cold peel, that's why I'm placing this on the table before I peel that back. And now I can remove that carrier. And not only have I created a really cool metallic special effect look, but I was also able to achieve a really vibrant full color image with sublimation. And you'll notice none of that is migrating through because the metallic keeps that from happening. Okay, so if you're looking for a special effect material that doesn't experience dye migration, metallic is one of those products. And it has great durability, so it'll last just as long as that sublimation will. Right, so you don't have to worry about compromising how long the sublimation will last, even though you're doing a mixed media graphic. Okay, so the next application we're going to do is sublimate something other than just a standard t-shirt. So we're going to step out of the t-shirt box, and we're going to do a pair of flip-flops. Okay, so they come like this, right? So if you are doing sublimation, you want to make sure you're sourcing the right pair of flip-flops. Of course, we don't want the tongs to be already inserted because we need to take a transfer paper and get a nice flat surface so that sublimation transfers correctly. These were sourced from Coastal Business, and they also offer a lot of other great sublimation blanks. So I encourage you to go on their website and check out all they have to offer for sublimation. Now, before I place my transfer paper down, I'm going to make sure I grab another craft paper cover sheet so that the ink from the previous one doesn't transfer. The other thing I'm going to do is test my pressure because this item has a lot more density than my t-shirt did. So I need to lock this down and make sure I'm adjusting my pressure so that it's accurate with the flip-flop template. So I'm just loosening and holding this to kind of gauge where my pressure's at. I went a little too light, so I'm gonna make sure I get a nice firm pressure on there. Anywhere from 7 to 9 is a good firm pressure. Okay, and now I'm going to take my sublimation transfer. So this transfer was already templated to make sure that this is meeting the widths of this, and this is all done in your artwork. So all you have to do is make sure the template is exceeding the outline of the flip-flops just a little bit so that you're getting an all-over print here. What's nice about sublimation paper is you can kind of see through it to make sure you're hitting those lines. So it's not completely opaque. You can see where the design starts and ends on there. And again, just to be safe, I'm going to use my thermotape so that there's no chance of ghosting. I want this to stay in place. And this thermotape was made specifically to withstand high heat. So I'm going to make sure that I use a tape like that as opposed to anything else that could melt. All right, so grabbing that cover sheet, the new one that doesn't have the old ink from it. And now all we have to do is make sure we're at the right time. So we did drop it down for the metallic application, so I'm going to put that back up to 45 seconds. And now I have to just lock this in place and let it count down for me. So it's going to do the rest of the work for me, and I don't have to worry about any ghosting because the thermotape kept that in place for me. And now I'm going to have a custom sublimated pair of flip-flops with somebody's monogram, which again takes personalization to a whole new level. You're able to add an all-over print and pattern for your customer as opposed to just one single monogram that's single color or digitally printed with a heat transfer vinyl, such as some of the stuff you're seeing hung up today. All right, so we have 12 more seconds. I'm going to make sure I'm getting to all of the questions here. Kimberly asked, is it a hot or cold peel? If you're referring to sublimation, it is a hot peel. If you're referring to the metallic application we did, it is a cold peel. Okay, so I can remove this. And now that it's away from the heat, I know my sublimation has cured. So I'm going to remove my tape, and then I'll remove the paper. Okay, so now I can remove the inserts of my flip-flop template, and I have fully sublimated flip-flops. All right, so that's pretty cool, right? There's a lot of different things that you can do with sublimation. It doesn't just have to stay in the realm of apparel. You can, of course, do accessories like this, but it's also great for durably printing mugs and other ceramic type things because they have a polyester base. Now, I do want to point out Coastal Business did think of everything when they were thinking about offering these. They do have the tongs that insert into these flip-flops and the tool that gets them all the way through so that they're not falling out once your customer has them. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in, but if I happen to miss any, I'll make sure I revisit this broadcast following this. But I want to thank you guys so much for attending my class today. I hope you learned a lot about sublimation, and this brought some new ideas to the table for you as a heat printer. I want to ask that you like and subscribe to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Thanks again. See you next time.